We're starting now. All right, guys. Thank you for attending to this meeting. The reason why I decided to make this meeting is because I met Easy. What was that? About 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And back then, we were in an office, a huge office, and I had a small office right next to Easy. And I saw how Easy was very diligent. And I was listening to his speech every day. He comes to the office about around 8 o'clock and then stayed in the office about until 2 o'clock, just making phone calls. And I admired Easy back then, and I still admire him today because he was able to understand and overcome rejections. He understood that the rejection is not about him, and he had two buttons on his desk. One, when you push the button, it says, that was easy. And the next one is the next button, the next bell, next. So he was not affected by any reaction from the sellers on the other side of the line. That was his strategy in real estate, working with sellers and reach out expired listings. That's what he did every day, reaching out expired listings. And he was so natural when he was talking to the people. He was so natural. Whatever comes out of that conversation, he just push the button and move on to the next call, and then push the button and move on to the next call, never stop it. And one thing that I heard one time in a sales meeting, it was the people, they got to the office around 8 o'clock, and then they start making excuses. Oh, let me have a coffee. And then you go have a coffee, 15 minutes, 30 minutes having coffee. Oh, let me check my emails. And then you check your emails. Oh, I need to call this friend of mine. And then you continue making excuses to start making the calls, to start actually working on the plan. And that was not easy. Actually, not easy, EASY, but easy, this guy here. He come to the office and he goes straight to the phone calls. No excuses, not procrastinating, just straight to the phone calls. And he left the afternoon for the appointments, and he became very successful. We had many lunch together, and he was sharing with me buildings that he was buying, property that he was buying. He's playing for the retirement, and now he is retired. And I told him that I have 2 pictures of him that I'm going to show you guys after the meeting. And that's going to be a surprise for him as well, because he doesn't know I have those pictures. So I set up this meeting because sometimes we forgot that we have to do something to be successful. There's a lot of agents out there that they don't achieve their goals because they're not doing much. Next week, we're going to have another person that will come and tell you guys his story. And I can tell one of the things that he told me, that one time in his career, at the beginning of his career, nothing was happening. And he thought, maybe I chose the wrong path. Maybe this is not for me. And then he remembered things that I said in class, because he was also my student. And he remembered, and he would start thinking, I am not doing what I need to do to reach my goals. And then he changed his attitude, and he started doing something, and he became very successful. That's why I set up this meeting and the meeting for the next week, so we can hear from someone and remember that if we are not doing anything, nothing will happen. But if you do something and you are diligent when you're doing, then you achieve your goals and you're going to live the life that my friend is living right now. He lives in Clearwater. He has a band because he loves to play guitar. He loves to build guitars. He loves to sing. And he's living the life that we all dream about it. So let's listen to what this guy has to say and let's see if it will touch us. Izzy, it's a pleasure to have you here. My friend, as I said, and I told you many times, I admire you. And I thank you very much for being here with us and share your story with us. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Arlindo. And welcome this afternoon. I think it's afternoon in Miami, yes. I'm in England. I'm in the UK for the summer because the summers in Florida are just too hot. My story started in real estate somewhere around 1999 when I first bought my first investment property. I bought a duplex near Coral Gables and bought about 3 or 4 more over the period of like 3 or 4 years. And then in 2005, the market went up so much that I decided to sell because they all doubled in price. And also I was going through a divorce. So we had whatever profit I made, I had to split in half, which is part of the fun when you're going through a divorce. But I decided to go into real estate as an agent because there's one reason I went into real estate, and it's money. There's no other reason for me. I don't like people particularly. I like money. And I went into real estate because it's one of the highest selling tickets. If you go into sales, because you're a salesperson, you might as well pick the highest selling ticket, because if you have a commission, if you're commission based, you want a high ticket there, so you don't have to sell many items in order to make a good living. I got licensed in 2005. I had to look it up, actually. I went to the license portal to find out when I got licensed. And it took me about 14 years to reach my goal. My goal was to have enough money to buy enough property throughout the process so I can comfortably retire and live off the income from my tenants. And this is what I've been doing now for 4 years. I retired 4 years ago in 2019, and I'm still licensed. I still have follow-up business from old clients that I share with wonderful people in Miami, like Arlindo. So, which we're doing successfully, still doing, and that's a great thing. Now, when I started in real estate, I immediately took lessons from a professional because I did not know anything about real estate. I wanted to get into it as quickly as possible and find out how to make money in there, so I can, and then not only support my life, but also plan for the future. And basically if you're taking notes, you can write down, there's 3 ways of making money in real estate. A, you can wait for it. You can do floor time, you can go to the office, you can team up with a more successful agent, and you can wait until something falls on the side, and you can process it and hopefully make a commission on it. The second most popular, that's a very popular way, by the way, and that's almost a guaranteed way for failure, because you're not going to make enough money and you're going to be part of the 95% who will not make it in real estate. The other way of making it is, if you have a lot of money when you get started, is you can buy the business. You can buy advertisement, you can do flyers, you can do promotions on the internet, you can buy leads from Zillow, you can from Realtor.com, and there's some success with that, but you will spend a lot of money. For every dollar you make, you will probably spend 80 to 90 cents. So you really only make 10 cents per dollar. So you can create a lot of volume, a lot of work, and not that much in a profit margin. The third method, this is the one that I chose to do, is to actually go and get the business. How you get the business? Your number one method to do this is go after your sphere of influence. All the people that you know. Tell them that you are an agent. Have business cards, dress properly, Have your hair done right. The women should wear makeup of some sort. Don't look like you're a car mechanic if you want to be a real estate agent and sell $1 million properties. That was the number one suggestion that I got from my teacher, and it has helped me a great deal. You want to look serious, you want to act the part, and you want to tell everybody that you are in real estate. Also, when you have a conversation, or when you want to end the conversation, we discussed that many times, Arlindo and I, is the best way to end a conversation is to ask the person, is there anything I can help you in the business of real estate? 9 out of 10 times, the conversation will end really abruptly, which is what you want. And 1 out of 10 times, you get business. So there's many ways of catching business. I'm going to tell you real quick how my day looked like after about 6 months in real estate. I got up every day between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, did my workout, did either meditation or yoga for half an hour, and I had role play partners. I had partners of realtors that were on the same path like me, and we were doing role playing. Role playing was a way of giving each other objections and learning how to handle objections on a very competitive basis. So basically, you were doing a warm-up for your boxing match with reality. Reality always started at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock sharp, I was on the phone. You try to catch the people before they start work in the morning. I had a system, and there's various systems out there. RedX, I think, is one. We had Vulcan 7. It's a dialer that you can buy a membership, and they actually download the expired listings, the for sale by owners that come from the MLS, find the phone numbers, even find phone numbers that are under LLCs, that are under corporations that you might not be able to find. They find also the cell phone numbers of the customers, and then they start dialing, and you get it on the screen. You as soon as somebody is reached, you get it on the headphone, and you start asking questions. I will send you the objection handlers and what to say on this. We're not going to go through this right now, but basically I was doing telemarketing for at least 3 hours every day. So from 8 to 10 with small breaks in between, you do prospecting. We call it prospecting or telemarketing. You do the sales job. You're actively sourcing business for your portfolio. The reason why I was doing this, you have two choices if you become an active agent. You can either work with buyers or you work with sellers. Buyers take up a lot of time. And I do work with buyers, but I'm extremely strict. I work maybe with 1 out of 5 buyers, because I would go through a process. I'm going to go through this real quick. But with a buyer, I would tell them, I would ask them, would you allow me to tell you how I work with buyers? And I would tell them that I want to pre-qualify them. I would have a finance companies either pre-qualifying them, or they would have to give me a DU report, a desktop underwriting report. Then I would go over with the criterias, and I would select 3 properties for them. I would show them the 3 properties, and I would ask them to buy one. If they wouldn't buy one, then I would question myself and go back to the basics with them and see what went wrong with the 3 properties that I showed. If I would show them another 3 properties, and if they wouldn't buy one of these 3, I would drop the buyer. I would put them to somebody else. I would put them with the younger agent who is willing to show properties, 12 properties, 20 properties. I had agents that sometimes showed 30, 40, 50 properties until they made a sale. Sometimes they made a sale, sometimes the buyer went away. And so that's one of the reasons I didn't like to work with buyers, is because they would take up a lot of time. I preferred listings. Listings is what makes you money. Listings is what you put in the MLS. If you price them right and they look appealing, they will sell, and somebody else will sell them for you. So the amount of time I would invest to find a listing, go to the listing appointment, get it set up in the MLS, have wonderful pictures taken by a professional photographer, and then off it goes. Somebody else will sell it for you. Next stop is the closing. You got to have a good team together. You got to have a good closing agent. You got to have a good financing agent. These are the only two people that you really need. And it would be always great, like what I did with Arlindo, is to have a knowledgeable, a competent agent that you can work with instead in case you go on vacation, or you go away, or you're out of time, or you're in a listing appointment and somebody else needs to go to the closing, and so forth. I also had the great fortune of having a very experienced broker. He always advised me to never, ever go to a closing. There's no point in going to a closing ever, because if there is ever a shortage of money, they will ask you to put it up. If you're not there, they can't ask you, and you don't have to be at the closing. In a nutshell, that's what I did for 14 years. And if you do this right in the first year, you're probably going to break even. You make enough to pay for your living. In the second or third year, you're going to put money aside, and you have to invest that money wisely. Since you're in real estate, you should invest in real estate. It's one of the best businesses. You can defer taxes on it. You can write off anything you can possibly imagine. Talk to your CPA about this. This is one of the best secrets, in my opinion, to accumulate money, to start a residual income for your future, and to minimize or optimize your taxes. The secrets in real estate is that you really develop a discipline. Without discipline, you cannot achieve high numbers. And high numbers, we're talking reasonably, within 3 or 4 years, you should be able to sell or get 20 to 40 listings a year. Average price, I don't know what it is in Miami. I guess it's somewhere close to $1 million now. So you do the math, how much commission you take, even if you take only one side. I don't have to give you that. But that should give you enough money to invest and create a future for your family, realize your goals. Whatever your dreams are about it, they are possible. And with it, you do the math. If you sell, just say 20 properties, and you get 20 listings, and they should be sellable, obviously, in this market, then if you multiply this by the amount of commission that you can take, 30, let's say 30,000, and you multiply that by 20, you have a pretty good number there to work with. I think that is important. So it is in my objective was always to have a clear bottom line. The bottom line had to show me how much money did I actually make and how much did I keep. If you spend a lot in advertising, if you spend a lot in offices and expenses of wining and dining your clients, your bottom line will shrink, and you will work harder, and you will work longer hours or longer years in order to achieve your goal. The key thing is to set yourself a goal and make a plan how to get there. I wrote down a couple of things here. Why you are in real estate. Each one of you probably has a different reason why they started in real estate. But bottom line is, we're all in there for the money. I think we have to be clear about this. Unless you have support and training, you're going to be on your own. Unless you're a real good talent and you can sell anything or to anybody, then, unfortunately, I wasn't one of those talents. So I had to have a coach or a training possibility to achieve the goal that I want. The third thing is obviously discipline. We already talked about that. You have to have a schedule. You have to get started in the morning, and you have to be able to deal with rejection. Arlindo mentioned that in the beginning. Rejections or conditions, as the clients throw them in, like let's say they say, I have to think about it. Now, how are you going to do this? So they say, well, I want to sleep over it at the end of your listing presentation. And they say, well, the best way to handle this is obviously to rebuttal this, because an objection is nothing but an unanswered question in the mind of the seller. That is what an objection is. There is one thing that we can't handle, and these are conditions. There are certain conditions, like we mentioned that also at the beginning, before we started the meeting, is you have a condition like probate, where the property cannot be sold. It cannot be sold. There's nothing you can discuss about this unless the probate is over, and then you can list the property. Objections are the number one thing, and you have to have at least 3 answers to handle every single objection that comes up. And there's a great objection handler, Arlindo. I will send you these PDFs in a bundle. They're from Mike Ferry, which I like a lot. His objection handlers and his scripts are, bar none, some of the best. They are 30, 40 years old, and they still work today, I think 90% of the time. So you have to learn how to handle objections so you can then overcome that, get the listing, get the signature, and move on to the next listing. So with that, I can give you some recommendations of how to deal with objections. Whenever you get a no, you have to make a little mark on your notepad and write down how many no's you get until you get a yes. And then how many of these yeses you can convert into listing appointments. And then how many of these listing appointments you can convert into actual sellable listings. I'm not talking about fantasy listings, but sellable listings. And then once you sell that listing, which should be sold, you calculate the commission minus the split, minus the costs that you had, and there's a number. Let's say the number is 10,000. So you then divide this 10,000 by the amount of no's that you got. And that gives you a value. Let's say my value was like, I think, $25. So every time you get a no, this is how I condition my brain. Every time you get a no, you hit the that's easy button and the ching ching button. It was a ching ching button that said that was easy. I'm sure they're still around. I think Staples used to sell them, and I'm sure they're still around. It's a great thing to do. It conditions your brain. It's like you can have a little rubber band on your wrist or whatever it is. It will condition your brain. Said, okay, ching ching, I got $25 for this no, because I'm moving on to the next one. And this is how you can start to handle rejection, because in your brain it becomes a dollar sign, because every time you ask a question and you get a no, you move on, you move to the next one. Also, we had a rule, and I had 7 quarters on my desk. The 7 quarters, every time I had a no, I took 1 quarter off. When I reached 7, I hung up because it was a waste of time. There is notorious naysayers in this market, and you will find them guaranteed in your career. There's constant naysayers, and you don't want to waste time with them either. They should go on and then waste somebody else's. So you gotta be able to find a sellable listing with a seller that understands what you're doing. And if you do that in a professional way, I think you'll have a lot of success. And I can only guarantee it's one of the best businesses you want to be in. And it's one of the most profitable businesses you can be in to make it on your own. Now, I think I wanted to speak only for about 20 minutes, which I have done. I would like to open it up for questions for about 10, 15 minutes, if that's okay with you, Arlindo.
Yes,
Can you arrange that, please?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming today. It's nice to see you. Easy, if you remember me, Tamara.
Oh, hi, Tamara. Yes.
And yes, thank you for your advices. It was useful. I like it. Thank you.
Okay.
No
Do you have any
questions.
questions?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
now,
I have a question. Thank you, Easy,
Sure.
for sharing your experience.
Okay.
I am wondering, and this is my concern, when you're calling all of these prospects,
Yes.
how do you introduce yourself? Or my concern is right now, there's a scam for everything. So
Sure.
how can you introduce yourself to be not noticeable as a scammer, or not be somebody picking up the phone says, no, this is a scammer, I'm gonna hang up?
Sure. Good question. First of all, in Miami, I'm Swiss myself, so I have an accent. In Miami, the biggest problem we have, and we had with most of the agents, is that they all had a very strong accent. I can recommend two things other than real estate education, and that is accent reduction classes and acting classes.
Mhm.
Accent reduction will help you to sound more professional on the phone. Acting classes will help you to be a great salesperson out there in the field by interacting. What you have to understand is that you are an actor in this field of real estate. You have to act like one, look like one, behave like one. Okay, very important. You cannot be yourself and love people. Okay, that's not going to sell you anything ever. You are in the business of real estate and you have to look and sound like one. So that's the number one thing. I don't know how you interact with people. Do you make mostly phone calls?
No, I'm starting the real estate business.
Okay. Well, the most effective one is still the phone. So you call up, you work for a reputable firm, I would assume.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, well, you pick a
I'm
reputable
new-
firm.
I'm new here.
Okay, all right. Well, and then depends on what you call. Who do you call? But you basically introduce yourself. Very simple. Hi, my name is Izzy. I work for HBY Realty. I'm calling you regarding your house that is for sale by owner, for example.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I talking to the owner? That's it. So if you do this in proper English, you introduce you, they give them your name, you tell them for who you work, and if they didn't understand you, then then you repeat yourself. But that's fine.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
and for that, I had a simple script. I said, hi, my name is Izzy. I'm calling about the home for sale. Are you the owner? I'm doing a survey on all the for sale by owners in our area, and I was wondering, if you sold the home, where would you move from there? You start a conversation. There's a script. I will send the scripts to Arlindo, so he can then share them with you. But you have to learn these scripts. You have to learn what to say, because what to say is the most important thing. And the reason why a lot of the scammers are gonna get hang up is the number one thing is because there's a delay when they pick up and until they hear something in the phone. Then by that time you already hung up.
Mhm.
Most scammers, right?
Yep.
Okay. You don't do that. They pick up the phone and say, hi, my name is XYZ Realty. There you go. And then you start asking the questions. I'm calling about the home for sale. They do have a home for sale and they want to talk to buyers. And I
Right.
say, I don't want to, they say, and then, well, I understand you don't want to talk to an agent, but I'm sure you want to talk to a buyer. I do work with their own objection handlers. They go to a course by themselves, the for sale by owners and the expireds. They take another course. They take a course how to deal with agents.
Right.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Did I
yeah.
answer your question?
Yes. And if you can send that list to Orlindo, I would be very appreciative. of it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Easy. I have a
Any
question.
other questions?
I do. Junior here. So I saw you doing that a couple of times when you worked together at Red Square in 2015, 2016, if I'm not wrong. And
Correct.
the one thing that I am terrified about is making cold calling. I don't see myself doing that at all. So my question is, I don't know if an acting class or how to do something to go over it, you know. In those years, all of those years that I have experience in real estate, I always created my connections naturally, you know, talking to people, getting to be known about my profession. When it was back in Brazil, here in US, I didn't have the same path, but I see that the calling, like a cold calling, I don't know if I could say, if I can call it like a cold calling. I think you did cold calling, and I'm terrified
Yeah.
about it. So what do you do? What do you say about it? So how could I overcome, you know,
The fear.
of this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, the first thing I would do is I find somebody that is also afraid of cold calling. And then you give each other hell for half an hour every morning between 7 and 7:30 or 7:30 to 8 o'clock, right before you start cold calling. And you really, really give each other a hard time. You say exactly the same thing. The other one is going to object as hard as possible, but not rude. I'm saying you just give each other a hard time. It's like a sparring partner. You need a sparring partner, and you need 2 or 3 of those. Not because after a while you get used to each other. So we used to rotate. I had like a pool of people that other agents that wanted to learn. So we would give each other every morning a phone call at 7:30 and introduce and start right away of cold calling. By 8 o'clock, you're sweating so much because you've just handled 25 objections that the real thing is going to be easy. So you have to learn to fight. Okay. This is like you're going to a boxing match. If you're not trained and you don't know what a boxing match consists of, you're going to get hit and you're afraid of getting hurt. So you're never going to go into the boxing match. You're never going to go into the ring. But in order to get into the ring, you have to know what to say and what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So training. That's
Training.
Yeah.
And accent reduction classes helps everybody in Miami. It helped me. There's a free thing you can do also. It's called Join Toastmasters. Toastmasters, you can find it in every city, and it's a free thing that you do. I was with Toastmasters for 3 years. And Toastmasters helps you to formulate a speech, to present something without the interruptions or the speech patterns that we all develop with and and you know, you learn all of that. You have to get over it. You got to be able to present in a fluent way, in a nice way, with a nice voice to the customer, and that's what the client wants.
Understood. Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Build confidence. There's different ways of doing it, and Arlindo has some great ideas there. He knows how to build confidence.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
I in the neighborhood that I live, they put up houses for sale, and it seems like the they expire without selling. So I'll see the signs up and then all of a sudden they're down. And most likely it's because the listings are higher. I think people want a lot more money for the houses than the houses are worth. I know that, and when I see them, I'm walking my dog and I'll see them and I'll see the sign went off and I'll see the owner and then they'll say something about my dog or whatever. So I'll establish a conversation there. And I tell them, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor and I was wondering, are you interested in listing your house again? And they automatically tell me, oh, I already know so many realtors. Everyone's a realtor nowadays. And it cuts me off completely. And it happens to me at the dog park too, because my dog is very friendly. So I tend to be friendly as well. So I'll talk basically. My sister says I talk to like people at the line in Publix and that I'm crazy. So so it's not a matter of communication or starting a conversation because I can do that. But the minute I mention I'm a realtor, the whole entire conversation switches off to where I'm being rejected. And I'm not used to that so much because usually my conversations flow freely. So I find myself not wanting, almost like I need to force myself to say, oh, I'm a realtor. Are you interested in this and that? Because I know an immediate rejection is going to come where they automatically tell me, everyone's a realtor nowadays. I know so many already. And I don't know what to say back. I don't know how to
Okay.
respond to that.
Very, very good. Very, very normal. So expired listings, or why listings expires because they're overpriced. Now, a seller has to have a motivation, and you have to find that motivation. Of course, he knows 20 realtors, and when that happens, when I heard that, I would always smile and say, yeah, you know, I know about 200 realtors, and most of their listings expire too. That happens a lot. Now, you have to give him some value, some reasons why you should come over and look at the house. And you say, listen, why don't I come over and look at your house? Maybe I can give you a few tips why it didn't sell.
Okay.
How does that sound to you?
That sounds good. And usually, and they see me often because I'm walking the same streets with the dog. So that's a good idea because I'll be seeing that person again, either at the dog park or actually walking right by their house. So thank you.
You give them a value, you give them a point where they say, you know, yeah, okay, you know, I come over and I don't charge for that, obviously. I can come over and look at your house, and while I'm there, I can probably give you some ideas why it didn't sell. Then you ask for their phone number and their names. Okay?
Okay.
And then what you're going to do is, before you go over there, you give him a call. Okay? And you give him a call to prepare for your listing. And in order to do that, you do what we call the pre-qualifying presentation. So you call them up and you ask them a series of questions to pre-qualify them. Okay.
And that will be on the phone.
Absolutely, you're going to do that over the phone because you have to find out if they are motivated. They might not be motivated. I know people that have been listing their properties for 12 years, never really sold, because they always listed it overpriced, and you always find a listing agent that is willing to take an overpriced listing, terribly overpriced. So there's something in the documents that I'm going to send to Arlindo, which is called the pre-qualifying of the listing presentation. You have to pre-qualify. I'm not going to go through this because it would take too long. And at the end of this, it is actually quite interesting when you do the listing presentation. There's also the CMA presentation, how you present it, and you have to actually mean what you say, because I used to start the same, always exact same way every time I did a listing presentation. I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, at the end of my presentation tonight, one of three things will happen. One, you will have the opportunity to list your property with me, and you might want to take that opportunity, or you might decide not to give me your listing. Or number three, I might decide not to take your listing. Is that fine with you? What would you say?
That's very interesting because you're actually you're also giving them an option that you will be rejecting them.
Correct.
Which psychologically makes people want you instead. It's like when you see the last pair of shoes at a store, everybody wants it.
Yeah, they would say, well, why wouldn't you want to take our listing? I said, well, you know, it's usually the price, but we have to discuss that, obviously, because your motivation and the price go hand in hand. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then you move on. You know, this business is about handling the objections in a logical way so their brain can adjust to it. And then at the end think, Jesus, that's that agent approaches it completely differently, even though you cook the same way like everybody else, but you handled the approach differently in a professional, optimistic, positive way.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
Right. Good. Any other questions? Arlindo, you have any questions?
No. I just want to point out that what you achieved based on the conversation we had is that you bought many properties, some of them in Chicago. Am I right?
Correct.
And that was all based on those phone calls that you made every day. You didn't do anything.
That's correct.
else. The only thing you did was making those phone calls every day and not getting affected by the rejection. If it's an objection, you found a way to overcome the objection. And if it's a simple rejection, you just move on to the next one and never stop until you reach your goal. And then you were selling properties a lot, and then you were saving money. You bought those properties, and now you live off the rent of all those properties that you bought. So that was basically my point to bring you here, to show us that if we do what we have to do to reach our goals and be diligent in what we're doing, never stopping, and don't let anything to stop you, you're going to get there. So I told you that I was going to show you a picture, and I'm going to also point out the.
Okay, before you do that, I want to give the listeners an easy way to calculate how to get there and to give it a proportion in terms of numbers, because I love, as you know, I love numbers. The best way, whether you're going to retire or have a family or just live by yourself happily, is you have to find the number of dollars that you need in order to achieve that lifestyle. Whether you have a partner and 3 kids, there's a cost associated to that, as we all know when you get older. That cost has a number. And that number is the number that you have to achieve. So if your expenses are, let's say, I'm taking a number here, 150,000 a year. You have to, and in order to make 150,000 a year, you have to sell a few properties in order just to make that goal. Now, by that time, you just break even. You're not actually making any money or putting money aside. But in order to make 150,000, you have to sell a few properties. You have to sell at least 3 or 4, 5 properties in order just to break even. If you want to make serious money and add to that, you should always achieve a spendable amount of income that allows you to put 10 or 20% away easily every year. The problem we have in America is we always spend more than what we have. And that's a common problem. The easiest way to achieve fortune in the future is to put 10 to 20% of your income away every month, every year, and invest that into real estate. And that's the way to calculate how much you have to sell. So if your expenses reach $500,000, you have to sell a sizable amount. So if your average commission check is I don't know, 25,000, you know how many properties you have to sell in order to get to $500,000, and so forth. I mean, there's an easy equation, and you have to do that equation, and that's how you create a business plan for yourself. Anyway, that was a long interruption. Sorry about that, Arlene.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead with those.
And also, you mentioned about people trying to sell a property for 12 years and never sold because of overpriced, and how you handle. I remember the clients that you referred to me on Jade Beach. Remember that?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, but you know what happened there? The motivation had changed.
The motivation had changed a lot because
That can happen.
He didn't object to my price. I gave him the price.
Yeah.
And he suggested a lower price.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I told him to list the property for $1.2 million. And he said, no, let's list it for $1.1 million. And we actually sold for $1.1 million. We got a full price off.
You have to tell the audience that the chances that happens is very rare.
Very rare. Yeah. But
Yeah.
once
So it's
you
not
have
a regular occurrence.
once
And
you
I warned you so much. I warned you so much about this client that everything turned out positive. So that's a
yes,
good one.
you warned. I even told you on the phone to say, man, I spoke to a different guy. You described
I know.
a horrible person. And then I found out that I was talking to a guy very flexible.
Yeah, but Arlindo, if you looked at the history of this listing, it must have had 7 years of listing.
Yes. He was trying to sell the property for many years. But when you got the right speech that you talk to the seller, then you got him to realize that the price is corrected and you are the one who knows about the market and you are the one who knows about price. The seller only has a feeling about the value of the property.
That's true.
And he had many reasons to put value to the feelings because he was the one who decorated the entire apartment. He brought wood from Brazil to put on the floor. And he told me that it was so hard to cut that they had to use the sewing machine that we use for marble.
Tiles. Yeah.
Marble.
Yeah.
Because he had to use water because all the sewing was breaking when they were trying to cut the wood. So he could put a lot of feelings on the value, but instead he put the feelings on the house. And that was the reason why we sold the property. Some people say, well, when you show the property, don't have the seller there. That's not entirely correct. Because when I showed the property, he was there and he was the one who sold the property because he was so passionate about everything in the house that he was describing the house and all the things that he did in the house. So with passion that the buyer bought the property.
Sorry to interrupt you real quick, but that can backfire too. You can have somebody who puts in pink. I've seen people with pink marble and they were very passionate about that pink marble and nobody wanted pink marble. And it depends. It can work for you. It can work against you. So
that's why I said not entirely true. There are some times that you're going to find something that will, the seller will help you to sell the property. And that was the case on that one.
Yeah.
And
when you have passionate sellers that are passionate about parts or components of their house, it's always like I would always come back to them and say, you know what, that pink bathroom is fantastic. Now, what would happen if there's a buyer out there that wants to buy the house, but it would rip out that pink bathroom on the first day, what would happen to the value of that bathroom?
Yeah.
And then be quiet and look at them in a very serious way into the eyes and say, what would happen? And let them answer it, and they go like, oh my God, okay, well then we can't really add value because of a pink marble bathroom, can we? It's just saying. Anyway, we can do another meeting in the future about objection handling or investment properties or whatever it is. You know, I'd love to talk about that anyway.
Yeah. So I
what
want to
pictures
show
do
you
you have
guys
there?
the active real estate agent and the retired easy. I'll show him. So this is easy when he was active in real estate, working diligently every day from 8 to 12, making phone calls and using the afternoon for the appointments. And this is easy today, retired, enjoying life, doing what he loves to do. The idea is to picture ourselves here as an active that we are working right now as a real estate, and picture yourself exactly how you want to be. I don't say that you want to be a guitar player singing on a band, but whatever you have in your mind, the things that you want to do when you are retired. And that's the life that Easy is living right now. So you see, it's a totally different guy, right? So, suit up, well-dressed, and now relaxed with his guitar, having fun. And that's what we all deserve. Easy. If you don't know how to find those pictures, I can tell you, go to your Facebook and you're going to find them.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to all of you. And anything you want to do in the future, let me know. I love to talk about real estate, and I don't get to do it anymore. I'm not unhappy about that, because I'm very happy with what I do, because I do build guitars, as you know, and I play music with my wife, and I play music in several bands, and that's what I enjoy. That's my passion.
Very good, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking your time to be here with us and share your experience with us. It was very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you, Izzy.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so
Bye-bye.
much. Thank you for your time.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Easy. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Arlindo.
you very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Arlindo, everybody. Thanks.
Okay, now the bathroom.
Ciao, ciao, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.